Hi guys, welcome back to the Once You're In, You're In podcast. This is episode 59 and it is only a few days since we last filmed one. So, I feel like I haven't got much to chat about with you. I don't really feel like we need to catch up. Do you want to catch up, mate?
Not really, no, mate.
You did say that I was looking good before we started.
Yeah, honestly, mate, your face is looking leaner. You're a little bit burned from the sunbed yesterday.
I'm very burnt from the sunbed. Even my eyes are burnt.
Yeah, but no, mate, your face is leaner. It's a shame that your physique isn't, but
Mate, my physique is leaner. I've lost 30 pounds off my face, have I?
no, but you're still a bit soft.
Yeah, of
Or
course I
quite.
am. I was very soft before. 30 pounds is going to make me look amazing.
Yeah, but the thing is, most people, because some people can lose 30 pounds, mate, and step on stage. You lose 30 pounds and
Yeah,
need to
but
lose
I
another
was
50.
really fat.
Why did you let yourself get to that point, mate? We're not going to address.
I was
Why did you let
feeling
yourself?
good. My performance was good. I'll do
So
it
what,
again next time.
what, you do it again?
Yeah.
What, and you wouldn't regret it?
No.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
Most
I
people
really regret it.
you're not gonna do that classic, do that classic thing that every bodybuilder does, and they get lean, and
Oh
they say,
no, I
"I'm
just
not
didn't
gonna,
need to get that fat.
didn't need to get that soft. I didn't need to get that soft." And then within 6 months, they're as soft, if not softer, and they just talk about performance and fueling performance.
No, I think for me, I'd say my, if you like, peak performance would be anywhere between maybe 210 to 220.
But I'd argue your 220 to 230, you had like probably the best run of training you've had. We said this.
I think that was more so when I was at 220.
Do you reckon?
There's a few things after that that got in the way, not like stopped me from progressing, obviously, but yeah, it wasn't me pushing from 220 to 230 that made me feel like mint or like training
No.
fly up. It's more so just time at that kind of body weight. But yeah, like next time, no chance I'm getting that fat again. Embarrassing.
Embarrassing. Yeah,
Right.
never happening again. Never happening again. And then
I'm gonna get to about 180 next time. I reckon I'm just stay there.
yeah, what, and just not make much progress.
Yeah,
Or
I'll
actually, you
just,
main game. Are you
I'll
gonna main
just.
game?
Hopefully, I'll look average. Maybe it'll look all right. I might get a little bit more exposure on social media, and then I'll
Okay.
just absolutely spam it.
The Reece Fit Classic.
Yeah, I don't
Get
give a
your-
fuck about bodybuilding. All I care is
yeah.
like how many likes I get.
Honestly, mate, I've already booked my flights to Dubai in for the back end of this year.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I'm sacking off the pro card, man. I mean, who cares? I'm literally just gonna. I've got written down in my notes section on my phone like 30k Instagram, 80k TikTok, like 10k plaque, like, and I'm literally, man, I'm just gonna hit my goals. Who
yeah.
needs? I mean, bodybuilding, it's not really for me anymore, man. Like, why diet? Why do we even put
None
ourselves
of
in?
us do it for bodybuilding. We all just do it for social media exposure.
Yeah, yeah, but people lie and pretend it's for bodybuilding.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'm actually now coming out saying I'm not a bodybuilder anymore.
No, we
I'm
always
just,
said we're not bodybuilders.
yeah,
We just
true.
want to be influencers.
Yeah, we want to be influencers who pretend we don't want to be influencers. But
But
like,
really, it's all that we think about.
yeah, we finished this. What trends can we tap into? Who can we
Actually,
take?
speaking of that, let me take a photo so people know that we're doing the podcast.
There we go. But yeah, when did we do the podcast last? It was Sunday, wasn't it? So it's only been a few days, as we said.
Yeah, so today is Thursday. We filmed it on Sunday because we got back from Ireland on Thursday, didn't we? So we didn't end up filming it on that day.
No, makes sense. Makes sense. Right. Do you want to get into the questions? We don't really need to do much of an update on ourselves because we did that
We
on the
could
last
chat
one,
about
didn't we?
this weekend.
Yeah,
We
fair
didn't
enough.
properly go into it, did we? So we said, I'm pretty sure we said what we're doing, but maybe we didn't. Anyway, you go and tell me what you're doing this weekend, mate.
Well, I'm going to Manchester on Sunday. There is the PCA, believe it or not, PCA Manchester that Reece is doing. So that'll be a good show. Be good to see him. Not junior. I was going to say junior men's physique, not junior men's physique. He'll be in the men's physique tour, whatever the way they want to specify it and break it down. He's 24, so it would have been a year ago he would have been a junior, but not this time. So first time ever on stage for Reece, and then also first show for Comran, which will be quite exciting. BMBF Northern in the teen class, both both are pretty much like fat free. They're very, very lean, which will be good to see. And they're both, like I said, on stage Sunday. They're both in Manchester, so it's a little bit of a challenge. Like Conran's going to be on first. The BNBF starts at like 1 p.m. And then with how PCA works, it's usually the physique guys are on after the interval, so that'll probably be like 5 p.m. around that time. And because of how it works with Reece, he'll most likely probably like in the middle point of physique, because usually it'll be like junior physique, this if it's disabled physique, potentially like there's like master physique, all that stuff. So they'll go on, then it'll be Reece. So in an ideal world, I'll get there, see Comran. He'll probably end up winning, maybe going to the overall. Then
The
I'll
thing
have to
is, I was meaning to tell you about this. So
yeah.
BNBF do a day show and a night show.
Okay.
So Conran will be on
Yeah.
early.
Yeah.
Whatever. What time's the show start?
1 p.m.
Okay, so he'll be on at 1 because
Yeah.
he'll be the first class. Oh no, he's not the first class because they do masters. He'll be on. They posted about it, so have a look. He'll be on at like 1:30, maybe 2.
Yeah.
And then they do an evening show which starts later on, and that's
Okay.
when they do the routine and that's when they do the results. So it's like pre-judging and then the
Oh,
evening
okay.
show.
That's
So
cool.
either way, you'll get to see Conran at the start, but you probably won't get to see.
Yeah, at the end.
I don't imagine you'll get to see him get his result.
Okay. Well, either way, I'll see Conran at the start. I'll see how he goes, and then I quite like that at the top level, but I think at the amateur levels, it's probably
Yeah,
best just
it's
one or not. You know,
it's a
like
strange one. Like sometimes I think, oh, this has been good. It's run really well. Sometimes it just feels like
yeah,
it's dragging out.
yeah.
I've got the post. I'll send you it.
Cheers, mate. So yeah. So like, either way, I'll see Conran at the start. I'll then go to Reece, see how Reece does. PCA, literally, you're on and off before you know it. Like, and it'll be interesting to see how both do. So this will obviously come out Monday. I'm not going to be doing any predictions, but I'm confident for both of them just based on the fact that they're both very, very lean. They both look really good. Stress is at an all-time low for both of them. And like this week has been, there's no magic peak week formula for both of them. For Reece, he's got a show the following weekend. So we're literally building this peak into the following one. And for a first-time competitor, I said to Reece this morning, not many people at all get as conditioned as Reece in their whole competing career. And for a first-time competitor, he's handled it really well. Not complained, just cracked on, nailed everything. He's been an absolute dream. And then Comran's the same. Like literally, there's only been a few times where I've had to tell Comran to get his head screwed on. And for a young lad, it's admirable. Like for a teen who's has been in good condition for a long time, we haven't really pushed him that hard. We handled his prep like extremely well prior. We did like a little pre-prep tidy up / diet towards the back end of last year, which was handled again really well. And the exciting point is, I said to him yesterday, he came round here, went through some poses, saw him in person, kind of wrote up, drafted up like a plan of action for the next few days. And I said to him, like, it's mental the fact of how good he is as a team. And mate, how many times have we said to him in person, like, you could be better, you could be more optimal in his gaining phases in the past? He's never been 100%. He's always had, he's not been bad. Comran's 80% is probably better than a lot of people's 90 or 100%, but he knows himself he could be a lot more on it, and he could have been on it. This prep's been flawless from him so far. So it's been really good. And that's the reason why he looks the way he does. But if we were to head into a prep in the position we're in now with the same level of adherence, same level of application, Conran will be fucking wicked as a junior. Really, really good. And the fact they'll be a junior still in 3 or 4 years is mental when you think about it. So yeah, exciting times for both of them. And it's quite nice to get to this point where I've got 2 clients coming on stage this weekend. Reece will be done within 10 days from now. Conran will probably still be in prep for another 5-6 weeks, but both of them are literally speaking about me after about what we're going to do afterwards. We're already kind of getting those next sort of same mechanisms in place for heading into a long and productive off season afterwards. And yeah, exciting times. You have on stage this weekend Miles, don't you? It's Miles, UKDFBA.
Miles and Maddie both at the same show in Camberley, so down south. We've got an Airbnb in Surrey for all of us. So, yeah, to be fair, like with Miles, he'll be on second because it's teens, then juniors. So we've sort of been planning around him being on at midday. Maddie, I'm guessing she'll be on maybe about 5 p.m. because it's not like a massively busy show, but it's a relatively busy show. So we're planning on her being on at 5. Maddie's coming around later on because she obviously lives locally. So we're going to see how she's looking at that time. And then we've basically just been working as if like today is for both of them their first like quote unquote mock show day, which is what I like to do for like the 3, potentially 4 days prior, where you literally just treat it as if it's a show day and get them to eat the same meals at the same times that we would do on the actual show day. Get them to do the pump session that they'll do, get them to pose at the time that they'll be posing, like doing everything exactly how we expect it to run on the day, so that when the day arrives, there's no stress and there's no sort of panic thinking, oh, well, I didn't do this the other day, or I've not done that yet. You're not going to do anything different. You're not going to add in any stupid food or anything like that. Not going to really change anything in terms of fluid or sodium, apart from on the way up with more carbs, adding a little bit more water, adding a little bit more sodium. But yeah, like, to be fair, both of them are really relaxed. Like, Miles has had sort of some wobbles throughout, sort of just like mentally, but it's normal. Most people do. Like you were saying, like, it's admirable for people to just be so switched on all the way through and not stress out about anything. Like Noah was really, really good, but even then he had a couple of little times where he was just stressed out about something. It's normal. Your body's in such a sort of heightened state of stress, like even just from the diet, like you're not going to be thinking straight, so the smallest of things will stress you out, and you might be sort of something that in off season you'd laugh about, you'll overthink and stress about. So that's normal, and that happens with everyone. But to be fair, like, I'm happy with how they're both looking. Maddie's been feeding up for the past few days, and she's literally just maintaining weight and just looking a little bit fuller and a little bit leaner, which is perfect. And with Miles, because his body's been a little bit unpredictable at times, it's been like, luckily in the past like couple of weeks, we kind of got to the point where we could predict things a little bit more. And we found out basically his rest days, turning them into like mock show days from a couple of weeks out, has really helped. So he's had like pump sessions on his rest days, so that he's not just sat at home thinking about food, or sat at home stressing about whether or not he's going to be as good as he wants to be. Instead, he's been like, go to the gym, see people, do a bit of a pump session, practice what it'll be like on the day. And that's really helped. And he's actually lost weight from doing that. Whereas before, on his rest days, he was gaining weight generally from stress, and I think from work stress as well. So yeah, like, this again is a perfect example of like, everybody's different and you can never predict exactly what's going to happen. Like, Miles was on really low food on a rest day and pretty high expenditure, to the point where it's like impossible for him not to be in a deficit. And he was gaining a bit of weight generally from stress and fluid retention. You actually give him a bit more food, you tell him to go to the gym rather than resting completely, which you would think would be beneficial, and it's really helped. So yeah, Miles is looking really good. Maddie's looking really good. Generally, they're both relaxed. And the thing is, like, if you've got everything structured as best as possible, as best as you can, then there's nothing to stress over. Like, Miles messaged me about an hour ago, and he was like, just checking, like, what's the plan? Have you got a plan for food Saturday and show day, just so I can prep it all? And I was like, it's literally what you've been doing yesterday, today, potentially a bit more, potentially less. But I can't tell you that now, because it depends. Like, it depends how you look tomorrow. It depends what your body weight is. It depends on numerous things. But it's basically just prep plenty. I said, take more than you think is necessary, and then you can't stress. If you don't eat it, you don't eat it.
I said the exact same thing to Reece yesterday. Literally the exact same. I was like, just we'll prep for a bit more. He's got a wedding tomorrow, which is like 2 days out, 3 days out. So he's just getting pipped.
He's getting smashed. It's all right. It'll get dry. Tell him to have white wine.
Mate, you're ahead. That's why I've been
pushing
hard.
White wine.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But no, that's
this is rosé actually. I'm trying to dry out a little bit.
Oh yeah, of course, mate. Your face is already peeled and dry, so
I'm dry because I'm burnt, mate.
Just a bit of vaso burn around the midsection, mate, and you'll be ready.
Vaso burn on my face from Sunday.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I said to Reece, like, we'll prep for a bit more. If I tell you don't eat that meal, we won't. If not, we'll be sound. And you said, I think a lot of people will enter a peak week, and it is annoying that the fact that peak week still has this heightened level of, oh my god, it's peak week. And we said,
he was like, what's the plan? And I was like,
yeah,
do what you've been doing. And she was like, what about water? Like, are we cutting water? I was like, no, we're doing the opposite. If anything, we're gonna be drinking more.
I think it's the one thing I hope, like, through modern information and the amount of knowledge out there, my one wish in like 5 years is that people
your one wish in life,
yeah, one wish in life. In
not
5 years,
like health for all your family or anything.
No. Like, mate, health for my family, mate. My health's already compromised. I'm going to die in 5 years. So, I just hope that in 5 or so years, peak week just comes around and people go,
I don't think we'll ever get there, because
you'll just always have this magical formula.
I don't think that's what it is. I think people who are educated on the subject will know. Like Miles, for example, hasn't gone, mate, what's the plan? Like, he hasn't gone, what's the plan for peak week? Like, what are we changing? There's going to be big changes, because he kind of knows that that's not the case. Whereas Maddie doesn't really know, which is fine. Like, she's obviously she's prepped before, but like, mate, if you walked down the street and spoke to somebody and said, oh, like, what would you think a peak week is in bodybuilding? Like, most people will go, oh, is that when they don't eat any food, or is that when they don't drink any water and they can't have anything for a week? Or like, you know, it's kind of the general population's consensus on it is like massive extremes at the end, when if anything it's the opposite, that you should be resting, you should be eating more, you should be drinking a bit more. Like, yeah, it's and like we said, I think we said it last week, if you're not ready, then you literally just keep dieting. Don't try and do anything drastic, just keep dieting.
Yeah. What was your peak week? Because what was it with AJ when you were
so it was change everything.
so much. Yeah, so we did this and AJ changed everything.
AJ, in the last week, he said, tell you what, mate, just fucking go out and have pizza every night. And I was like, yeah, sounds like, can't wait. And then he said, actually, after I'd had it 3 nights, he said, actually, don't have pizza anymore, go and have an Indian. So I went and had an Indian, and yeah, he just did loads of different stuff, and that's why I look like shit.
Yeah, makes sense. Now, what was it? What did you actually do? Was it a linear carb load? What was
it was just dead simple, mate. I'd been having quite a lot, like my refeeds were pretty extensive, mainly because the shows kept getting pushed back. So like I was ahead of schedule because the shows were getting pushed back and pushed back and pushed back. So yeah, basically I was having refeeds towards the end every weekend of like, I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was a lot. It was like, you know, 600 to 700 carbs 2 days. Yeah. So it was like I was getting in like 1,200 or so. It's something like that, 1,000 to maybe 1,300, 1,400 carbs over 2 days. Fats were moderate, protein was down as we pushed the carbs. And then basically we just did that, but more as a more moderate approach for a longer period of time. So it was like, I can't remember exactly, but it was pretty much from about the week before, it was just working food up. And then we found like where was sound, I'd put on a little bit of weight. I definitely think I could have still been fuller, but I also think like it's very difficult on the day. Like in my opinion, what I've experienced with other people, with myself, like the most sort of the most sort of important thing is trying to stay calm. Like stress is the biggest sort of issue. It has the biggest impact on your physique. You could have done everything perfectly, but then if you stress out on the day, you won't look that good because you'll be holding water and you'll be looking nervous and you'll be sweating on stage and stuff. Like, so like, I didn't feel stressful or nervous at all, but you feel it as soon as you've finished, as soon as you come off stage, you feel that like relief and you realize, oh shit, I was stressed. Like, even though I didn't feel it, I'm not like a nervous person at all. Like Shannon was really nervous and she was like, what is wrong with you? Like, why are you not nervous? And I was literally absolutely sound, like you were, just like relaxed, just like ready for it. But then afterwards, like you kind of feel, oh, actually, I was quite stressed. Like my body was stressed without me, like subconsciously, you don't realize it, but obviously it's stressed. So yeah, I think that's one thing that you can control it as best as possible. But I think the only way that you get better at that is competing more, because it's quite a big thing. If you compete the first time ever, it's a big thing. The more and more you do it, obviously, the more relaxed you'll be, and it becomes sort of second nature. But yeah, you could prep everything perfectly, but even if you're not stressed, just that subconscious stress is going to play a role, and it will impact the look at the end.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's just that, like, let's say one night's poor sleep, like heading in.
Thing is, as well, because you've got the tan on and you're in a different place. Like,
I slept really well.
Place.
I slept really well.
I remember sleeping pretty well, to be fair.
Yeah.
Make sure you do the head down tilt. As long as you do head down tilt, you'll be peeled.
Yeah. Oh, exactly.
You don't even have to diet. You just do head down tilt the night before.
Diet. Yeah.
All the fat is just in your head. You walk on stage like.
People wouldn't even know what the head down tilt is, mate. You need to explain. Or you're not going to go those secrets. You're just going to say it.
No, a head down tilt is basically where you would sleep with a very slight angle, sort of a very sort of slight degree, where your feet are elevated higher than your head. There's been some research on it in regards to generally sort of just in terms of like fluid retention, really. It's the same with like, I know that in the studies, like they'll relate it to going on an airplane or, you know, being in an aircraft where, you know, where you'll like hold fluid like in your ankles, in your feet. And that's why they give you flight socks. It's the same kind of thing, but like the invert of it is trying to do the opposite effect and trying to like shift the extracellular fluid out as much as you can by sort of shifting you into that position, almost like reducing the gravity, if you like. Does it work? Yeah, there's some research on that it can, like, but it's one of those like numerous things that you potentially could do. Like, is it going to be that beneficial? Probably not. Is it worth doing? Yeah. Like, are you going to notice it if you're sleeping versus that? Probably not. You're not like this, where you're like, you're going to be sound.
Yeah. And therefore, you just get some...
that's why Noah's quads were peeled on. Didn't even diet him.
No. You just do that the night before, and you'll be like, oh, yeah. No, it makes sense. It's like little things, like I said, sleep, and then it's almost as well like, let's say you don't go to the toilet. Let's say your bowel movements have been consistent, and the day you can't, you then stress out, going, "Oh my god, I haven't gone to the toilet." Things like that, and then you stress out about water, fluid. The more things you just need to kind of chill out and literally just think, right, cool, I look wicked, I look sound a couple of days before, and then almost as well, like as you said, running through like a mock of what the day is actually going to be. I've had Reece send me photos through literally at like 4:30 to 5 p.m. And I almost will reiterate, and I'll show him the photos in comparison to how he looks in the morning. And he looks better with food and fluid. So it'd be like, right, if you on the day he's scared of getting him food or scared of this or scared of his stomach, I'd be like, mate, look how much better you look. You reaffirm that visual sort of change of this is what you need to do, this is how things are, and this is what's going to make you the best version of yourself. And then also accepting the work's done. Like, there's no need to, like, but when you're backstage, you'll see people like who act like twats backstage, you know, and it's the truth, isn't it? You get people who think they're going to win against someone and get in someone's head, and very rarely you're ever going to. Like, I think usually it all stems from an insecurity thing. I remember last year, the guy that his name's Train with G on Instagram. I know he won't mind me telling you this. I've never actually said this on the podcast. I was up against him in the overall for the PCA show that I won. So I beat him. So sorry, mate, but I did beat you. And he came up to me at the PCA Universe and he was like, "Oh, you got in my head properly backstage. And when you walked out, I could see you posing and you just posed with so much confidence. And like I could just tell that you were cool." And I was like, "Why is this guy cool? I won my class. I should be." And I said to him, "Mate, I didn't even think about you. Like, I'm not being disrespectful, but I'm just focusing on myself."
Yeah, that's what it should be like.
Yeah, the task at hand. If you walked out and hit your pose cleanly, I'm not even looking over at you. And I was like, and I think that says everything. If you're going into it and you're worried about who you're up against or who's hitting a pose or how there's someone is backstage, like, just focus on yourself, be positive, be happy, enjoy the actual occasion, and it's just part of it.
I was like backstage against David. Like, I was just focusing on myself. I didn't even notice that all of the staff from the UK DFBA were taking photos with David and telling me how amazing he was. Didn't even notice. I just focused on me. I didn't even notice how fucking massive his glutes and hamstrings were. I was like, just focus on myself.
Yeah, exactly.
I was crying in the corner, like doing my fucking lat rows with the band.
Yeah.
Going, Ben Howard, don't you want a photo with me?
30 weeks of a prep, all for fucking third place.
Honestly, backstage, like, it was mental seeing it.
Yeah,
that was one of those where, like, I spoke to AJ about it when we were in the gym the other day. Well, like a couple of weeks back. But he was saying, like, because I knew David was competing, like, it was almost like I was very self-aware that David was a fucking monster. Yeah. And that, like, unless he just fucked up completely, I wasn't going to win. So if anything, that actually helped me. Like, if I went into that show expecting that I was going to be the absolute best and that I'm the one to beat, I'd have been probably a bit more stressed. But because I knew how good David was and I'm not deluded, I was like, look, I'm going to go. I'm going to do the best I can. I'm going to enjoy it. I'll make sure that I look as good as I can. But that guy's a freak. And then backstage, it was even better.
Yeah. You just cried, walked out.
It was funny, mate.
And number 10, Finn Kelly, and you were like,
I think I was behind David in the fucking lineup as well.
Really? So you were just looking at his glutes and you were like, what the fuck?
And then I got called out second after him and I was like, yeah, second, I've got it. And then I got fucking beat after that. I came third. I even got pushed out a second.
Yeah, poor. They thought you were the second and they looked compared you and went,
yeah, actually, he's shit.
Well, mate, I flopped. I got moved into the middle against Jack, got beat. And then in the finals, PCA, I literally was the first name they called out. Cheers. They compared me with that shit. He's not.
Were you first call out?
Yeah, I was literally the first person they called out. So I think
like, sometimes it's on the
Yeah.
I think it's on the
No,
number.
it would have been because I was the first person they like when we all walked out, I was at the front.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
they literally would have probably seen me walk out and just gone, right, he's first call out, like compared to like you can see when someone walks on usually who's gonna
Yeah.
be the pretty good. So they wrote my name down and then that's what they would have called out. It wouldn't have been, I doubt they would have gone, okay, this is the first person from the first call out
No,
or
I think
second.
a lot of the time
Sometimes it
it's
may be
just
a slip up. Yeah,
based on the number.
yeah,
Like,
exactly. And then I
as
had
soon as you go.
yeah, and then they would have. I had that fight with the black dude, on the side, who kept trying to elbow me. Do you know that? At the finals, because I was right, but I was the first one. And he was next to me, and every time I hit like a pose, he just elbowed me, and I was like, "Brother, can you fuck off? Like, stop trying to touch me, man. Like, just
They
leave me
do.
alone."
They always have too many at PCA, don't they?
Yeah, yeah. It was they should have like separated. I know they did. There was a first call out and a second
Yeah, but
call out.
it's
That
still
first line,
like yeah.
silly.
I don't like that. When you all walk out, it shouldn't just be just go and pose. It should be from when you walk out. Right, here's the first five, then here's the next five. Because otherwise,
Yeah,
it's just like I remember they did that at Slater's first show. So first ever time on stage, he was in the novice class, and there was some huge guys in it as well. And like by the time that Slater even got on, there was no space on the stage. He just stood at the end, like it's like to be your first experience on stage, it's just shit. Like
yeah,
it should be right. First five, go on, stand at the back. Right now, your first five go on and go into your positions, and then the next five and whatever. But if there's like a class of 14 to 20 plus, it's
yeah.
like it just looks a mess when they all walk on. And then like the lads at the end, they just stood there like you look like shit. It's like
Yeah, exactly. And then also the lighting always looks better in the middle for the vast
yeah.
majority. So it's like the ones in the middle look skewed, and then you get moved and you get called around. It just leads to like I think it's like if there's more tn like six now, if there's more than like seven or eight, just split it up. Do fours, do threes if you have to, but don't get it where like there's so many people that you have like people on the end. And then also like I said to you, I pose to the judges. But if I was to pose straight on and I'm on the edge, and my pose is gonna look shit. I might not even got a call out like I probably
Yeah,
would have.
you've got to
But
aim to the
yeah,
judges.
and it's like if you don't have that experience or that like know-how and that kind of like street knowledge, should we say, in regards to how to pose, like it's almost where you'd get marked down for that. And some people, when they go in on stage, they might not be the most confident. They might freeze. They might think, "Why the fuck am I on the edge? Oh my god!" And
Imagine
sometimes,
you've dieted for like 30 weeks or whatever it may be, and like you get put on stage in a shit position. Like you
yeah,
say, you're cramped at the end. They don't really say anything like in terms of right, we'll split it up. It's like it's a bit shit.
yeah, but it is what it is. It could be worse. You could diet for 30 weeks and come up against David and then get a second call out and then not even, or no, first call out and then not even get second. So yeah,
Yeah.
feels bad.
Backstage, you just sat there crying because
And then
everybody's like, "Oh, David, David."
Yeah, you call yourself a coach and you've only got one stage experience. Didn't even win a show.
Came third, looked like
Yeah,
shit as well.
yeah. Front relax was the best pose out of them all.
Yeah.
Has never posted a stage photo since. Has no stage photos on their Instagram.
No, I don't like any of them. I think
I
I've
think
got a side chest that I
yeah,
don't
side
take.
chest. I was gonna say yeah,
Oh, I
side
think I
chest.
put on a most muscular and like a rear lat spread at one point ages ago.
Yeah,
But
but
again,
ages.
I'm realistic. I'm not like I think I'm very self-critical, but also like I know what looks good and what doesn't, and I don't like my stage shots because I don't look very good.
Yeah, fair enough. Makes sense, mate.
That's why
Right.
hashtag redemption next year. Right, I'm gonna
Step up the redemption. Right, we'll
oh yeah,
restart.
I need to change the name. Right, we'll
Yeah,
do the next part for the check-in. The check-ins fucking hell for the questions.
for the questions.
Want me to go first?
Check-in time, as you said, mate.
Hey mate, thanks for this week's check-in. This is week number 59. This is week number 59. This is like our check-in, our weekly check-in with each other.
Yeah, exactly. Right, we'll get into them. Did you have any more from last week, mate?
I don't think so.
I think I might have had a few. I actually had a few, yeah, that came through afterwards. I say a few too. Would you ever open a gym from Pappy? Once you're in gym. We spoke about this before, haven't we?
Yeah, we've said like it's probably not a good idea from a financial standpoint, but from just an enjoyment standpoint and from having like somewhere that we would love to train and choose sort of the piece of equipment that we want. I definitely think it's something we could do. Something similar to like Train with Intent, where you have it as like your hub for like people that are
like-minded
yeah,
individuals.
and you're gonna look at the equipment and stuff. So it's like a semi-private kind of place first, and then depending on how things are going, you could open it up a little bit more. But it's something we definitely have spoke about, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's one of them where when you actually think about we do it as a passion project. It would be an investment for us to collectively. It would be literally like what we had during lockdown in the sense of our training environment, but just something that we can control with far better kit, with far better facilities. But I don't think we'd ever go into it. We've always said this. We wouldn't ever go into it with the idea to be like, right, we're going to make a gym and this is going to be a chain and this is going to be the first.
I don't think we wouldn't try and make money from it.
No.
Like
No,
we would make money from our coaching, and then we would have that as like, right, this is cool. This is our gym. This is where we can train. We can get clients to come in. Like that'd be me, but it wouldn't be a good money. It wouldn't be a good like money making move.
No, I'd have it in my mind that like we train there a few times a week if we need to. We'd have a posing room. We'd have cardio that we can go in and do our cardio in the morning or whatever. And we'd have, let's say, 5 to 10 people that we could give the keys to that we know would train there.
And like any client can go and train.
Any clients that could look after it. And it would be cool for videos, cool for content, cool for let's say in general, like making content out of the gym, and we can choose bits of kit. But let's say and almost in a sense mold it to what we'd want, because the vast majority of gyms you look at and you go, right, that like every gym we go to that's new, we always go, okay, cool, that's good, but that's shit. Why do they have that? We wouldn't have that. When we were at the gym doc, we were like, right, the Nautilus ab crunch sounds a bit funny, it's an ab crunch, but we were literally like, that's the best ab crunch we've used. We'd have something like that for abdominal, base movement. There was a pre-core ham curl, seated ham, that was fucking class. That was really good. We'd have that. The Cybex squat press, we'd probably have that for the leg press. But then other than that, we were probably a bit like, well, the Nautilus pin loaded row was okay, but there's other rows out
heavy
there.
Enough.
Yeah, not heavy enough. And we could pick a fault. And we literally, without even realizing, that every gym we go to, we'd almost go, right, we'd have that. And before we know it, I can guarantee if we were to sit down, let's say we were to do a podcast, we could actually do it on a podcast, but let's say if we were to do a call and we'd say, right, let's go for upper body bits of kit. We could probably schedule, let's say, and draft like a couple chest presses, couple shoulder presses, or if we were just picking one, we could easily come to a conclusion, right, this is our bit of kit that we use. And we wouldn't need that much space, something with like training with intense size. And I can't imagine it would be a stupid amount of money to have a place like that, whether it's to rent, whether it's to buy, whatever it would be, what's most feasible. And it would definitely be something that I think we could look at in the future, but we wouldn't want it to be like, once you're in gym, it would literally be our place that we train at. We wouldn't even probably name it.
Probably call it. Trying to think of Kojo's, but with our names. Refi. Probably call it Refi, wouldn't we? Yeah, Refis. Refis. See you at Refis. Even though I should be first. Fire. Fire gym. Finn, Reece, Fire gym. Mate.
Fire gym. There we go. Fire gym.
Why did I think Refi?
Fire
gym. And then we can have a flame emoji on either side of the logo.
Yeah.
And you walk in, you have to get burned.
You get a fireman's pole like that gym in Leicester.
Yeah, we can. Yeah. You have to wear a fireman's outfit as well when you come in, because we both like a man in uniform, don't we?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Makes sense.
This is a question that was in my messages from Dylan Harvey. So he's put a question for the pod. Do you guys always work your way up to the end of the rep range before increasing load? Or if warm-ups feel good, do you go up in load?
Quite like
we spoke about this before.
Yeah, we spoke about this definitely. I have this kind of topic with a lot of clients when it comes to rep ranges, and I don't like to have a set, like I'll have a rep range in mind, but we never say ever in our training at all, do we? Oh, this is a 5 to 8.
Yeah, what are you going for? How many reps are you going for?
Yeah, well, it's a 9 to 12. And I feel like loads of people I've always had conversations with, and they'll tell me the rep range they're training at. Yeah. And obviously, if it's prescribed by a coach, then fair enough, that makes sense. But I've never in my entire life thought I've got to hit a 5 to 9 rep range, or I've got to hit a 10 to 15. I'll go based off the load. I'll go based off previous data. I'll go based off how I feel. And if we think about it, and this is what I always try and say to clients, if you try and always go for a rep progression, okay, sometimes rep progression is fine. Most of the time, rep progression is fine. But what's going to occur when you get, let's say, you get to a 6 or 10, you get a 6, 10 rep range. When you get to 10 reps, what's going to occur? Load progression. What occurs when a load progression occurs? Usually reps come down. If you feel good, And you think, right, why don't you just guarantee the progression instead of going from an 8 repper and trying to get that 9 repper, or that 9 repper and taking a 10 repper? If you've been on that load and you feel comfortable and that you feel like your form's not going to break down, your form's going to stay the same, why not just shift the load up by a marginal percentage of 1.25 kg either side, one pin heavier on a machine, one pair heavier dumbbells, take that load progression and actually force the progression to occur. Like, that's something that I think a lot of people, they don't have that sort of thought process. They think I have to take a rep progression, and plenty of times we'll just go, I feel good, I'm going to take a load progression, and that's how we go, don't we? We never will be like, oh, I have to hit a rep range to go to base off a load progression.
I always say to people, like, especially when it's a new client, I'll literally say, if you're in the rep range and form is good, just go heavier. If you're over the rep range, then you know you can go heavier. If you're under the rep range, then we either need to work into it or we need to reset it. Like, it's really that simple. There's 3 scenarios. And if you're filming your training and you're sending it to your coach, then they should be able to tell you, right, this needs resetting, or this is good, go heavier, or you got way more than the rep range, you know you can go heavier. Yeah. So, like, I always say that we've said before, they're not magic numbers, those rep range targets. Like, I have some clients whose rep range is like 5 to 20. It's like, that makes no sense, but it's literally, how do you feel on that day? Do you feel really, really good? Do you feel like you could take a 5-repper on something like a hack? Cool. Take it. Go for it. Yeah. Do you feel a little bit sore? Do you feel like your joints aren't quite as warm? Do you feel like you're probably going to struggle to, get, let's say, a really heavy lower rep set? In which case, go a little bit lighter, do something a little bit higher rep, something that's a bit more, you feel a bit more confident doing. At the end of the day, what matters is your execution and your effort. That's really what matters. It doesn't matter whether you do a 5-repper or a 30-repper, but it has to be within that range, of course. If you do any less or any more, then it's pointless.
It's strength training or endurance training.
But, like, that is what is important, is your execution is good. You're actually stimulating the target muscle or muscles that you're trying to stimulate, and your effort is there, and you're training within a close proximity to failure to force adaptation. Like, that is what matters. So yeah, generally, like, as a rule of thumb, we'll always say, if you're in the rep range, form's good, go heavier.
Yeah.
I also, as well, just one more point on that, I also sometimes explain it to people because they're almost like, oh, but like, I want to go and work the reps up. Like, often it's actually harder to get a rep progression. So people think it's easier to just add a rep. Like, but if you think about it, for example, if you were to do 200 kilos for 10 on a deadlift, going from 200 kilos for 10 to 200 kilos for 11 is going from 2,000 kilos of volume to 2,200. So it's 200 kilos with the volume extra in one set is quite a lot. Whereas if you go from 200 to 202.5, you're doing 25 kilos with the volume extra, not 200 kilos with the volume. So although the actual volume progression is smaller, and that would mean it's less total progression per set, which do you think is more realistic? Like, 10 weeks down the line, are you going to be doing 200 for 20? Or could you maybe be doing 210 for 10? Like, and also, the second option is more realistic. Huh?
If you think about percentage, like 10% to go from 10 to 11 reps, you're talking a 10%.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's the same kind of thing. It's a big jump. Like, the rep, as much as it might look easier to just add an extra rep, if anything, it's actually going to be harder and a less frequent form of progression. You're probably going to be better off just adding a bit of load here and there as often as you can.
And I also think it's easier, like we said, it's easier to stay on a rep, and focus on a rep progression. It's easier to stay on a load because you've done it previous weeks. And it's actually at times quite scary to go, I'm going to go heavier. And again, the vast majority of times, like, we rarely will ever stay on the same load for a consistent amount of weeks. We'll probably do one load, take it.
It does depend on the movement.
Yeah, it does definitely depend on the movement. But we'll rarely ever, on like main big compounds that require everything, we won't sit at the same load for more than a week or two. We'll up the load. And I'd prefer to bring the load down, if I'm honest. I prefer to take a higher rep set and then build the reps back up than just constantly be thinking, I got 6 on this last week, I'm now 7. And then I have to get 8. I don't like that style of training. I don't think it's enjoyable. I think it's quite boring. I don't think it's very easy mentally because you can just go in and go, I handled this load last week. I want to actually feel like I'm pushing myself.
I think if anything as well, I think often it's probably not a good thing to go in going, this is what I have to get.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the time that leads to just shit form and a lot of anxiety as well. If you're going into a set going, right, I got 6 plates per side on the leg press for 8, I have to get 9, I have to get 9, I have to get 9. You're probably going to get 9, it's probably going to be shit. Or you'll get 9 when you could have got 12, or you won't get 9 and then you'll be beating yourself up, making out the sessions.
The warm-ups will feel amazing and you could have probably gone 6.5.
Yeah. Like, yeah, I think we probably both used to do that. We'd preempt what we wanted to get and be like, right, this is what we have to get. Whereas now, like, we might do that from time to time, but if anything, we do that and overshoot as a way of sort of being a bit ambitious. But more often than not, we're just like, right, we're going to make the most of this set. That's all that matters. Make the most of the set. Make sure your form's good. Make sure that you push yourself to your limits, basically. That's it. That's all that really matters. You do that consistently, you eat enough protein, you sleep, you're probably going to grow. Unless you're natty, you can't grow.
Yeah, exactly. Makes sense. Thanks for specifying that, mate, because I was about to say...
No one else understands. No one gets it. I'm natural and it's just so hard.
Yeah, exactly, mate. Exactly. Right, we now have Cams.fitness. He actually said, tried to step it up from last week's question. Apologies again, mate. I do like Cams.fitness. He's got a good level of banter. So he's asked a few good questions so far. Last week's question wasn't the best, though. So he said, pick only two for a prep client. Size/mass, so just size, stage presence, posing, conditioning, good tan. So you can only have two of those. I think it's a good question, this, because
it is, but it's got to be size and condition. But then you say that, and if they're posing shit, they won't win.
Yeah, like we know people, especially in the last couple of shows, whose posing was just so bad.
Maybe condition and posing.
Yeah,
because to have a decent level of condition, you do need a decent level of muscle mass.
Yeah. What about the tan? What if they walk out there and they're pale? They haven't had tan.
No tan at all.
No tan at
all. Yeah, but then you could say, oh, tan and posing. They're just fat and they've never trained.
Well, they got an awesome tan and their posing is elite.
Tell you what, they did pose well.
We know that exactly.
I nearly said his name. That'd have been horrible.
Oh, then we would have had to cut that out.
We would have had to cut that out. That'd have been. Yeah. I would have had to say, mate, really sorry.
But mate, your posing in your tan was wicked. Everything else was shit. Your posing in tan was awesome, bro. Oh God, imagine 100 and him just getting 2 shots in like literally like fucking weeks on end. Like, what the fuck have I done?
Right. Yeah, I would probably say condition and posing. Because good tan doesn't mean they've not had a tan.
No.
Would you agree?
Yeah, I'd agree. And then mass, like, yeah, I'd say if you're really, let's say, well shaped or condition wise, like conditions on point, you're peeled and your posing's awesome, I think that's a good look. Where if your posing's awful but you're a mass monster, you don't look good. You can't. I don't think you can't look good.
If you're posing shit, you look shit. No matter how big you are, like no matter how good you are, you just don't. It just doesn't look good.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, so I think I'd agree with that. To be fair, I think it would depend on like. I think in like bodybuilding, if your posing's awful, yes, but I think like physique's a bit different. Physique, it would be I think physique's a simple question. It would literally be conditioning and posing. But like,
I think it's the same for all of them. Like, if the first thing that like you see straight away, if someone's posing shit, you notice it.
Yeah.
Like you wouldn't go, oh, like, yeah, but he's massive and he's peeled, so it's all right. Like I'm straight away, I'm like, but he's not practiced his posing, so he shouldn't win.
Yeah.
Like if your posing's not good, then you've that's your own fault. Like, fair enough if you get beat by someone who's a bit bigger than you. Fair enough if you get beat by someone who's, you know, maybe got a nicer shape than you, a nicer structure. But if you get beat because someone's posing's a bit better or their posing fitness is better,
working,
they've just outworked you. That's all it is.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree.
Right, we've got Callum Neal has sent me 4 questions.
Callum.
Should we like?
Yeah, rapid fire. Rapid fire.
What's your favourite thing about bodybuilding?
Fucking hell. It's a
It's
bit
quite hard for a rapid fire.
Training.
I should have read them before.
Yeah, training.
Yeah, training. If you could only choose one exercise for the rest of your days, what would it be?
Oh,
Burpees.
Burpees. Deadlift if my back feels good. I wouldn't be able to do them often. It would be hard to
trying to think of something that
that
would mean I could like target everywhere.
Like a clean and jerk. A bit bad, yeah.
It's not bodybuilding. You're not going to grow. You're not going to grow much, are you?
No, mate. A clean and jerk's where you catch it and then do a squat and then press, isn't it? Shoulder press, deadlift, like hip hinge, squat, press. Sick. Clean and jerk, bro.
Just do them. It says for the rest of your days.
Yeah, rest of your days. Yeah, it would. I'd say a hip hinge would be the most fun. or
Yeah.
like a leg press. If I could just leg press whenever I train, that'd be fun. Like imagine you can only do a leg press. So
Yeah. Upper body would be shit though.
yeah, true.
Favorite gym and why?
Mecca.
Hashtag
Hashtag,
Mecca.
hashtag Mecca.
Because it doesn't
Why?
even need an explanation because it's
Why? Well,
Mecca.
think about it. So many people training there. AJ and Cuba train there, which is enough for anybody. So AJ and Cuba.
Yeah.
The atmosphere, the people. I'm just so motivated. I
The
go there.
equipment we have here.
The equipment we have here is fantastic. The people there are amazing. Just so many people you just want to train with. You don't even need music. The music is amazing. It's not. The music's awful.
Max is full.
Max. Ever since Max started being the receptionist there, the music's gone downhill massively. It's fallen off a cliff.
The receptionist as well, as Stephen called him.
Yeah, exactly. fkphysiques trains there. That's one thing. So, plenty of people.
Massive promoting factor.
Yeah, exactly. So many like Thorburn. So many people train there.
In all seriousness, like Rotherham, just because of the equipment.
Yeah, it's not because of anything else. The equipment's good.
That's just
my favorite gym. My favorite gym is Ultraflex Leeds. That's my favorite. I prefer that to Rotherham. I like Normanton. Normanton
Rotherham's good. Yeah.
Yeah, Normanton's wicked. Normanton's really good. It's a little bit. It's not as good equipment wise as Rotherham, but the atmosphere and the environment, the music's a lot better as well. I like it there. That's good.
Final one from Callum. Favorite supplement and why?
Primo. Favorite supplement and why? Whey protein, caffeine, creatine monohydrate, increase ATP and ATP gives more energy gives more chance of overload. Creatine monohydrate, 5 grams.
I think you would have to say creatine.
Yeah, you probably would.
Because I don't really class whey as a supplement.
No.
Even though you could do.
Yeah.
But I feel like if I had to only have one supplement for the rest of my life, it would probably be creatine, or it would be creatine.
Yeah.
But then imagine never having caffeine again.
Yeah, I know, it'd be weird, wouldn't it? But I could live without caffeine. Like, I feel like I could. I don't need caffeine, but you don't need.
You don't need creatine. I couldn't live without creatine.
Mate, fuck off. We both put that 5 grams of creatine in the other day, and we were like, wow, bro, I feel that creatine. Do you feel that creatine, bro? I feel it.
And we added it in for the first time.
Yeah, I remember that. My mum thought, she was like, fucking hell, Reece, are you sure you can take this?
I think I bought like a 2 kilo bag of it from My Protein, and it was just like a massive bag of white powder in my kitchen. Mum was like, what's that? I was like, steroids, Mum. Can't you tell? That's why I'm getting so massive.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I don't know. I think any supplement, like you could say, you can't live without whey protein for the rest of your life. I'd be like, yeah, sound. You can't live without creatine.
It just wouldn't be ideal, would it? I think the one that would probably be the hardest to not live with would actually be whey.
Yeah, I'd say so because it's just easy, it's accessible.
I wouldn't. I could easily live without creatine. Like I don't even know. I can't. You can't feel it. I can only feel Trent.
Yeah, exactly. I can't feel Trent. I can't feel anything else.
I can't feel it. So I honestly wouldn't know. But in terms of like the actual research, it is the one that I would keep in.
Yeah, I'd agree.
All right, you go.
Will Razzo
smash through them?
Or we can Will Razzo. I know it's you.
The sausage. Yeah, he does know it's you. He knows it's you, mate.
Yeah, he knows it's me. I am the owner of the Make Bodybuilding great page. What I'll do is you can actually go on Instagram, and if I hold that says my accounts. As we can see, we have Reece Fit.
Got it on his burner phone.
Yeah, I have it on my butt. Fuck yeah, shit. Don't tell anybody about my
He knows it's not you, mate. He's just he likes the attention. He likes it. He said that he got some extra followers from being posted on their page, so he's loving it.
Yeah, makes sense. So yeah, Will said that, and then Drew Hope has asked, warming up pre-resistance training when hypertrophy is the goal.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
I think he's like, maybe what do we do?
Yeah.
The best warm-up is just doing warm-up sets on the exercise you're going to do, both from a physical standpoint and like a neurological standpoint. I would recommend doing some like prehab work before the session, just literally getting the joints warm that you're going to be working. To be fair, you can literally just do like full body. Like I now, before every session, especially because my hips are really tight, we'll do a little bit of hip mobility and generally just a little bit of banded work for my scapula, my shoulders, basically just getting my sort of shoulder girdle warm, getting my hips warm before every session. And I would recommend doing that, or doing, if you've got specific areas that are obviously like problem areas, then get them warmer, but just make sure you do plenty of warm-ups for the actual set, more so at the start of the session as well.
Yeah, makes sense, mate. Spot on. Right, your one, mate.
Oren O'Neill 5. How much caffeine is too much caffeine? Usually 1 or 2 caffeinated drinks a day. Too much, mate.
Instantly too much. Impacting sleep quality so much. You can't even handle one. As always, with anything, it's very person dependent. It depends. Are you having negative feedback from stupid amounts of caffeine? Or I'd say 1 to 20 drinks. So let's say 2 monsters, 300 megs of caffeine a day. That's not that high. I think there's a lot of people, we hear it from clients. We've said it on voice notes before to clients when we'll be together, and they'll be like, I need to cut my caffeine down. And you look at their caffeine. Like, do you track your caffeine clients on their sheets, or do you just ask them? So I have a caffeine box.
Chat about it and check in.
Yeah. Well, I have a caffeine box with for my clients. So, and it's literally where like they'll say that, and I'll look at the caffeine, it'll be like 400 milligrams. It's like 400 milligrams really isn't that much. If you're high, like
you say, it's not how much it is, it's the impact that it's having.
Yeah, exactly. If you're having 400 milligrams of caffeine, or you could have 200 milligrams of caffeine, you're having that at 9 p.m. Okay, keep doing, don't do that. But like we know caffeine is a half-life of 6 hours. That doesn't mean in 6 hours it's out your system. You're literally going to have half the total amount of milligrams of caffeine, let's say, in your system present after 6 hours. So if you were to have 300 milligrams of caffeine and you were to spread it up across and you were to cut it off by 1 or 2 p.m., it's not going to be impactful. You're going to have more than that. But if it's impacting you and let's say anxiety levels are higher, you're noticing kind of that sort of neuro stress, that general level of like anxiety potentially a little bit greater, which can like caffeine can produce just because adrenaline levels go up. Yeah, cut it down, but it's very person dependent. Some individuals I'll coach and they'll have 700, 800, 900 milligrams of caffeine, and I'll say, right, it's quite a lot. Like, do you notice any impacts in their sleep qualities? Relatively okay. I always say it could be better. Definitely could be better if it was lesser, especially if caffeine could be optimized throughout the day to a better standpoint. But caffeine isn't something you want to be like, you don't have to have caffeine as a negative. It can be a productive sort of thing, but is it going to be needed person to person? I really question that. I kind of see and assess, and it is very person dependent. You can't really give a one size fits all. Like, you can't do this, you have to do this.
I think it's dependent on the phase you're in. It's a tool. Like, I didn't have caffeine for months and months and months on it. Like probably 10 months maybe. And I say I didn't have it. Like, it's not as if I never had it at all, but I like might have, if me and Shannon went for a coffee. Like, even then I'd get decaf. Like, I might have a monster every couple of months, like just whenever, if I fancied one. Like, I literally didn't have it for ages, no pre-workout, like, and I felt absolutely fine because I was eating a shit ton of food and I was fat. Like, now that I'm not eating as much food and I'm still fat, I'm benefiting from caffeine. But like now I have a black coffee in the morning, and I have, like, generally on a rest day I'll have a monster. That's it. I still don't have caffeine. I still don't have like a pre-workout because I just don't feel the benefit from it, to be honest. But like, even that is still phase dependent. Like, when I was in an off season on a lot of food, like, I didn't even think, oh, maybe I should have a monster. Like, it didn't even cross my mind that I might like fancy one. Whereas like now, like, I'm almost like, oh, I can feel that, like, I'm flagging a little bit. Like, it'd be nice to have something. So yeah, phase dependent, individual dependent. If we're looking at giving an exact number, like, generally I would say I wouldn't recommend, unless you're like a big individual, but even then I probably wouldn't recommend being over 500 milligrams consistently. Like, maybe now and again, maybe, the end of a diet, maybe, on like a really busy work day, things like that. But I wouldn't recommend being that high or more, like, consistently.
Yeah, I'd agree. I have literally one white monster a day. I've had no Stimpree since I've been back from holiday. I have one monster a day, so 150 milligrams of caffeine per day, and that's pretty much consistent. I always try and keep a caffeine like baseline in. I've done days where I've gone no caffeine. On holiday I had no caffeine, but I'd like to keep somewhat of a baseline in until I notice any negative impacts from it, and then it would be swapped out for no caffeine or lesser total caffeine. So yeah. GB Fitness 17. I'm not too sure if he's listened to the into the last podcast. I feel like we answered a relatively similar like question to this, but it was specific formula / ratio we should be aiming for. Plus, how would you do this, or should you just ensure getting a balance from foods high in potassium, adding sodium? Sorry, foods high in potassium, adding sodium, etc. When people say balance electrolytes.
So we did pretty much speak about it in the last one, didn't we? We said there's not going to be like a perfect ratio. There's going to be a range for both, for different individuals based on their needs, based on their output, based on their size. It's difficult to say exactly, right, this person should be on this amount. It's going to be more dependent on what do you feel good on, what do you feel hydrated on. Like we said, if you're getting like some negative impacts, like for example, if you're getting cramp all the time, then probably look at increasing your sodium. If your blood pressure is really high, then maybe look at reducing your sodium or increasing your potassium to manage that. Generally, in terms of a ratio, again, even then, like I was going to say, like you could look at a ratio of sodium to potassium, but even then, if you're someone who, let's say, has blood pressure problems or it runs in the family, like you're not going to be wanting to have a quote unquote optimal bodybuilding ratio for blood pressure for electrolytes. You're going to be wanting to focus on your blood pressure and being healthy. So yeah, like it's very dependent on the person. It's not one rule fits all. Again, we can give you could give rough guidelines and say, right, you're probably going to be looking at something like a 4-to-1 ratio, 5-to-2 potentially. But then it could even go up to, for some people, it could be all the way up to like 6-to-1, 7-to-1. Like it's not always just going to be 4-to-1 perfect. Like it's very dependent on that person. But like we said, what the most important thing is that when it comes to sort of, especially when it comes to a contest prep, but even outside of a contest prep, when it comes to performance and any impact, any kind of negative impact that you could notice from electrolyte balance, for example, if you're holding loads of fluid, or again, if you're cramping, things like that, sort of either ends of the spectrum, then assess it and go, well, track it, have a look, what are you having? And then you can go from there. Okay, cool, let's add a little bit more. Let's add a little bit more water, let's add a bit more sodium. Okay, let's pull that down. Let's, if you're holding loads of fluid and you check and you're having a stupid amount of sodium in your diet, right, probably pull it down a little bit. But again, you might be on something crazy, like for example, because you as a bigger individual who trains hard, let's say you lived in Kenya, I imagine it's hot there. You're probably going to be having quite a lot of sodium in your diet because you're a big individual, you train hard, you're sweating a lot. Let's say you have a labor job as well. Like you're probably going to be losing a shit ton of sodium just through sweat every single day. So you're going to need a lot more sodium than someone who lives in Finland, who does an office job and who doesn't train.
Yeah.
Like exactly. There's massive, you could be massive sort of either end of the spectrum.
You know the reason why Gulliver asked this, mate? Because he told me on his check-in, he woke up the night before his check-in in tears with a adductor cramp. Oh. He said he woke up with a adductor cramp, got up, and then he stood by his door, and apparently he was physically crying. He said it was that bad. He had tears in his eyes. His sister came out and said, "Gulliver, is everything okay?" And he had to say, "I've got a adductor cramp" through his tears at 2:00 in the morning. And he was like, "So yeah, that happened last night."
I've had horrendous cramp before. I've never cried.
I've never cried, but I said to him, "Fair enough, mate.
Fair enough, mate." I had cramp one time. Yeah. When I used to play football, so my girlfriend at the time lived in Brig. The good old days, mate, like we're saying the other day.
The good old days. Just reminiscing about exes in front of your girlfriend. That's what me and Finn were doing the other day. In front of Sinai, we were like, "Oh, the good old days." Do you remember that girl you used to speak to, Reece?
Oh, they were the good days. But yeah, so I played football and then literally went back, can't remember what I'd had to eat, and then went to bed. And I must have been asleep for 5 minutes or something. And I woke up and I had horrendous cramp in my hamstring. So I tried to straighten out my hamstring and then I had horrendous cramp in my quad because I was in knee extension. So then I was just stood there at the end of the bed with cramp in both hamstring and quad. And then my calf started to cramp up. And I was literally just like, what the fuck do I do? It was awful. Usually you've got it in one area and you can stretch it out. If you got it in as a adductor, just do the splits and you sound. It'll stretch out. But I couldn't stretch it out because the antagonist just started firing up. It was vile. But I didn't cry because I'm so hard.
Yeah, exactly. Gulliver, you need to be harder, mate.
Need to be harder. I bet it wasn't even bad. Should have just slept through it, mate.
Just gone straight back to bed. Close your eyes. I said, I'm getting through this.
Right, should we wrap it up, mate?
I've got 2 more, mate. How many have you got?
9.
Okay, so we'll wrap it up then.
Do your 2.
Okay.
And then remind me that I've got quite a few to go through.
Right, cool.
To be fair, one of mine was Miles saying, "Can I have a kiss?" So now I have 8.
Fair enough. Good question, Miles.
Keep him guessing.
what you want or how you feel? I don't
What's
really know
more
if
important, what you want or how you feel?
yeah. I'd say in regards to train, I don't know how you feel. I'm getting a guess. Well-being, bro. I want to feel so good. Yeah, I don't really know what the question
What you
means.
want or how you feel?
How
How
you
you
feel?
feel?
Yeah, I'd
How
say
you
how you
feel?
feel.
Because if it's like, oh, I want a new car that I can't afford, um,
Shit.
and then
I
you
don't
don't
really
even
like
feel
that.
good for it afterwards. So then
Yeah,
you buy like new clothes, like Cole Buxton and stuff, and then you still don't fulfill your
yeah,
happiness. Maybe
yeah,
that.
yeah. I agree. And then James McDermott 7. When can we buy the merch, bro?
Yeah, we
We
do
need
need to sort that.
Yeah,
We
we
need
definitely.
we need to start hiring people.
I know we do.
We honestly do. Like because and it's the same with you. Like we don't really have any time for anything outside of coaching and the podcast and social media.
Yeah,
So like making things for like I'd love to have been able to like spend loads of time designing the clothes and stuff, but like when are we going to find that time?
I know. We need to get sorted. We do.
So if
We
someone
need to
wants
get
to
sorted.
sort it for us,
More pay.
yeah, or if you volunteer.
Yeah, volunteer as well, or pay. But we probably should have gone with the volunteer and then we go, yeah, for
Yeah,
pay.
we won't pay.
Yeah, no one's getting money. No one's getting money. So we need to hire somebody who wants to work for us for free. And we're not going to, and we might give you a shout out. We might reply to a message. I mean, you never know. We'll see. Might give you a shout out to the pod. You might get a free t-shirt. That's what we'll get. If anyone wants to design it and make it, you'll get a free one. Maybe. You might have to pay shipping. But like, yeah, can you fund the shipping, please? Yeah. That's that. Right. Anything you want to leave us upon, mate? Anything that you want to cast upon the outro?
Best of luck to everybody competing this weekend. Oh, it's already been by the time this comes out.
Yeah.
Best of luck to everybody that competed last weekend.
Yeah. That's that. Hopefully everyone's good. Thanks for the story tags. Thanks for everybody who's listened to this point of the podcast. Thanks for all the kind words and questions. And we'll catch you guys in the next podcast. Bye-bye.
Bye.